Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to our God. This is the only live. No, this isn't the only live. This is the first live of very many for the month of August. Tonight we are talking horror gaming. The ones that started it all, some favorites over the years, and I'm guessing based on the panel, we got a lot of games to talk about. And I feel so out of practice, Steve, for like intros. Is it super obvious? How fluid was that? Was that bad?
Can't edit
it. There was like a couple weeks ago where Steve and I were doing a found footage Fridays, and I literally, when the thing went away, I just stared at the camera like waiting on something magical to happen. Anyway, so we're here to talk horror gaming. The panel tonight is the perfect casting for horror gaming. We've got Dice Roland, who's back. They were on, I guess it's been a couple months ago now, for their influential horror. It's been a little bit. If you're not familiar with Dice's channel, they do horror movie reviews, watch-alongs, and horror gaming, and some other things, all under the umbrella of horror. Links will be, of course, in the description, as always. Kat is no stranger. She even has her own little character now. She's so in what's the word? Into the channel. That's not the word. Intrusive. And everybody knows Steve, of course, my wonderful, magnificent co-host. And he's finally wearing his shirt.
Yes, my little guy.
So cute.
You're welcome, Angel. I feel so bad. I keep forgetting it. I'm sorry.
It seriously made my day. Super excited to see it. So we're just going to jump in and talk horror gaming. So I'll start us off, then we'll go Dice, Kat, Steve, for the game that kind of started it. I cheated. I do that a lot. But technically, the first horror-esque game that I ever played was Doom on this giant-ass computer in the middle of a dining room table. My brother and I fought over it incessantly. I was not very good at it, and I did not get to play it very often, but that was my first one. But I'm cheating a little bit, and I'm going to add these other two that were more the bigger ones that I played that really got me invested in horror gaming when I was really, really young. The first one's probably not a super big surprise. The first one's Resident Evil. My sister and brother-in-law, whenever I would go stay there on the weekends, I was there a lot, all constantly playing it, and I finally was brave enough to try. Would always make it to that first hallway zombie, cut it off, and start it back over. Super scary to me. And then the other one is one it's going to make me so happy if any of you know this one, is just a horror game called D. It stood for Dracula. It was a vampire game. You had to navigate through these puzzles in a castle. It had like a billion endings. Like you would go through a thing and he'd kill you, and then you were like, well, that was the end of that one because you made a wrong turn. It was really difficult, really scary, but my sister and I would stay up super late in the dark and play it, and it was like one of my first like bigger games in the horror genre that I got to play. So Resident Evil probably wasn't too surprising. Doom may not have been either, but no, I never hear anyone talk about the game D. No one ever talks about that. And it was on PlayStation. It was a PlayStation game. So that was those are my intros into horror gaming. Hi Tara. Thanks for coming by. Thank you for my care package that you sent me today. It's so sweet. Dice. What you got for your first the game that got it started?
Well, if we're talking about the first, like, officially horror game, that one I actually did on my channel. That was the very first one that I ever did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know, you get to see it. It's horrible. It's a horrible Let's Play. It should have taken me one video. It was like 5 or 6. But we were learning. It's okay. It was a very simple flash game, like point-and-click kind of thing. Yeah. I don't even know if anybody's even really heard of it. It was called Killer Escape.
Mm-mm.
No.
It was a very, very little thing, like an indie game, I'm assuming. But I couldn't even tell you where I found it. But I decided to do that as my first ever Let's Play. And it's not the most riveting game, but because I played it as a Let's Play, you get to see the very first time I was jump scared. So enjoy. Do not recommend once again. But simple thing. Like, a killer has kidnapped you. You wake up in this like boiler room basement kind of thing. You got to find these different clues from previous victims to get out. And I guess there's a sequel or two. I've never played those, but that's the one that really somehow set it off. And I went, okay, let's just explore more horror games. Let's see what we got here.
That's I haven't heard of that. You said it's like a point and click.
Yeah, very simple. Very little camera motion to it, but yeah, I don't even know if it's still around somewhere.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
Steam somewhere.
Oh god.
They lost a lot of those I'm kind of surprised I haven't heard of it, because I used to play all of the like in-browser little like Flash games, but we lost a lot of really good ones when Flash left.
When it went away.
A lot of them didn't get ported over, because like who remembers little indie horror games that long after, you know?
True, yeah.
That's like my favorite kind of horror game, though. That's gonna be reflected in my list.
Yeah.
I really don't know how long ago it was. I'm sure that when I actually played it, it was much longer after it was
sure, right.
But
yeah.
We were late to the party, but
yeah. There's this game I've been trying. Again, I use a laptop, so not really suited for gaming. But I tried to do, and I started it. I just need to finish it. There's this game called Howling Village, which is a very short game based off of a film, a foreign film that's super good. It's one of my like best, unique, crazy werewolf experiences in a film. It's so good. But that game is point and click. And for some reason, those work. They're super effective because it's like you're so focused on what you have to do to get the whatever, right? And you gotta like there's like a part where you have to take out a piece of paper and read the number, and then you have to put the number in the phone, and you're so focused that when you click the wrong or right thing, I guess depending on how you want to look at it, something happens and you're just like, oh my god. Like, but it makes for fun experience overall.
Yeah. It seems so simplistic, but it works.
Yeah,
if done well.
Yeah, that's fair too. Let me do this comment really quick and then we'll jump to Kat. Left 4 Dead 1. Yes, Left 4 Dead 2 is my favorite horror game to play. Period. That's like my favorite game to play. Dead Rising 1 and 2 are the best zombie games, and the best OG horror game would have to be Friday the 13th for NES. I never played that.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard about it.
Yeah, there were a few of those on the NES that I think Halloween had one.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Maybe all did.
Yeah, I didn't.
I never had an NES.
No, me neither. I had like everything else. That's the only thing I didn't have.
I inherited my dad's NES.
To the Nightmare on Elm Street one, but the Friday the 13th had a pretty popular port for PC, which is why it's the only one I've played.
Oh, okay.
And it was fun. It was like the true NES ported over experience, because it was a little bit janky and the controls were a little bit awkward, and it gave me like the best kind of nostalgia. Where it's
yeah. All right, Kat, what was your one that started it all? Or you can do like me and have 3, I guess, but whatever.
Well, I'm gonna kind of do that usually, because when I talk about my first horror game, there's one that I bring up a lot. I'm not going to talk about that one because it's like, even though it was the first like horror game I sought out on my own, it's also on my like favorites list. And it has recently been brought to my attention that long before that, like I grew up in a Quake house. I lived with my uncle and my cousin, and they were like both big computer nerds. Okay. And we would have like LAN parties where we would do like multiplayer original Quake. And I just kind of grew up, but like, I guess because I was a kid, I just sort of never registered that it was a horror game until later, where it's like, I'd be listing horror games and everyone's like, why do you never talk about Quake? Like, you talk about Quake all the other time. And I was like, is Quake a horror game? And then it's like, it's a Lovecraft, like, first-person shooter. It is technically, like, that's the one that I'm sure got me started. And I think it's still why I prefer FPS games to this day, because I just, like... grew up in the Quake house.
I know Quake. I have to look it up.
But the other, it's so good. I love it so much.
It's come up on video game adaptations, right? I feel like we've talked about it. It comes up, kind of periodically in general conversation, I think.
It was huge in my gaming journey, and I never think about it because it's like when I think about games that I played as a kid, I think about games that like I went out and sought for myself, and not games that were just like my mom left the house, so my uncle was like, sit down at this computer and like win us this game.
Did they ever remaster it or just port it over? They did?
They remastered it recently, like 4 years ago, for Steam, and we got like achievements and stuff, which was really cool because the people that had bought like the original Quake pack, got like all of the Quake achievements, and I lost several months of my life that summer, and it just like it was fun. It was a fun time. The other one that I am going to bring up is Shiver. Which was also one of those, it was like a 90s point and click. You installed it on the CD-ROM, and you had to go collect like lids and jars, and you had to have matching ones from completing puzzles to like capture the corresponding ghost in the house, and it was chaotic. I remember being like kind of spooked as a kid because it was like, what happens if the ghost gets out? And nothing. The answer was nothing. But I was like, I was always really worried. And to this day, I still don't like point and click games. Like Shiver took me so long to figure out, and I still find myself like as an adult getting frustrated by point and click games because it's like, oh man, I'm gonna be stuck doing this forever. I'm bad at point. Anyway, that's the full cat spectrum. Really good at FPS games without trying. Terrible at point and click games.
Rob says, "Cat nerding out about video games. Lord help us all."
Oh.
You can't wait. At least we're not talking about Halloween again.
That's true.
Oh,
All right, Steve, what was yours?
So while not technically a horror game, there's one character in this game that creeped me out as a kid. So it is a 2001, it's a PS2 Konami game. In the US, it's called Shadow of Destiny, but I think the translation is really Shadow of Memories. And it is just sort of like a JRPG kind of game. You play this guy who is trying to prevent his own death, like trying to figure out who his killer is, and you time travel back and forth. But all the while, you are followed and resurrected. If you die, you're resurrected by this creepy homunculus person thing. Okay. And this thing is just like, because it's also like PS2 graphics, like so it's not great. So, but I think it also adds to sort of the uncanny valley-ness of it all. Super pale with these bright red eyes, just terrifying. I definitely had nightmares about this thing as a kid, and it's like not even like not that scary when you first look at it. But like the longer you stare at this character,
the more weird it got.
The weirder it got, especially when I was like 10 at the time. So, but yeah. So it's a JRPG, so it's technically not horror. But it was definitely the first time I think a video game creeped me out. But then I enjoyed it so much that then I went and looked into like the Resident Evils and sort of went from there. But really, Resident Evil, I guess, would then sort of be the first like formal horror game. Yeah.
We're actually in the process of replaying through 2. Y'all, that game is hard. It's just like. It's so dark in the police department. I can't see. Like, I'm supervising. I can't play those things. Those games are scary. But I'm supervising. I'm like, oh, go in that room, and I'm like helping. And it's hard. It's super hard. Super hard. Rob says some people can win when talking about Halloween, just not anyone here. Ouch. Cursed Mountain for the Wii was a decent horror game dealing with ghosts. I didn't play. I've never had a Wii. So I haven't played that one. Castlevania Bloodlines for Sega Genesis. Yeah, it was good as fuck for its time. Totally agree with that. Kat and I did an episode on Castlevania, actually. Not, comparing the TV show to the game, but there's a playlist. So I guess we'll jump into some favorites. So I struggled with this. It's a lot of writing. Basically what I had to do, because I don't play a lot of horror games because they scare me. And so I had to basically decide my favorites needed to be ones that I played, not watched. So that being said, the first one I wanted to bring up, and this one's not going to surprise anybody either, is Silent Hill. I'm a huge Silent Hill fan. I don't think they're all, gold or diamond level game experiences, but I don't dislike any of them, if I'm honest. I loved them all for very different reasons. Specifically 2 and 4 are the ones that I love the most. Silent Hill 2 and 4, which is The Room. Which The Room is starting to get some love now. I'm just finally starting to see people brave enough to say that they love that one. For a long time, you were not allowed to say that. Like, people were like, 4? It was like this big taboo thing, I guess. I don't know. But the Silent Hill games have always been games that have been the first. So I actually played 2 first. And then, and that wasn't until much later in my life. I was in my 20s when I played 2 for the first time. I have like the first 3 and some kind of collectors. I don't know, came with the book. I don't know, whatever that version of the whatever is. But and it was so scary, and I was like, oh my god, like I don't know how I've ever done any of these games. But 2 and 4 are my favorite Silent Hill games, and I think Silent Hill, to me at least, has just been like my standard for horror games as far as like story and their characters and the way that they stretch. Man, did they stretch that story? They stretch that story across so many games. And spoiler alert for when we start our next season of video game adaptations. It's one of my favorite video game adaptations into a movie. I loved it. So I had to talk about Silent Hill because it's one of my favorites. I'm the only one. No one else loves
I
them.
haven't played them yet.
I've never played them.
I like Silent Hill. I don't like the whole franchise because
Yeah.
Book of Memory sure is a thing that I have.
That one, yeah.
But I really liked, I would say all of the, here's my hot take, is that I like all of the first 4 games. 2 is my favorite, and then probably 1. I liked 4 a lot. I liked 3 a lot.
3 is also good.
3 is not one that, like, you can look back and be like, oh, I love this and this and this of 3. But while you're playing it, like, it's
fun.
Tonally consistent with the franchise. I think it's fun. It's a good bridge from 2 to 4. I love Silent Hill. I'm trying very hard not to talk too much about the adaptation there because you and I are gonna have the discussion about the adaptation. So I'm trying to be an enigma, but I do love the Silent Hill games, like for the most part.
Yeah, they're good.
And I also love Sean Bean, which is the one thing I will say about the movie adaptation.
Oh, the walking spoiler, Sean Bean.
I don't feel like those are super easy games either. Like, I feel like, especially like going and playing them, like, I don't know what it was like. Obviously, it's like the first experience. I didn't play 2 until, like I said, I was much older. But like they, I still felt like they're like the very beginning of 2. Not a spoiler, because like when I tell you nothing happens, I'm having a full-blown panic attack. Nothing has happened. Like you literally, before you get into the town, you have to go off to the side, and you're basically walking along this like riverbank. Okay, sound design in Silent Hill is, I'm so scared the whole time. I cannot stop pausing the game, and I'm like, oh my god, just walk into the town. It was so, but that's like one of my favorite memories of playing a horror game, because I was like, I'm gonna be edgy and turn all the lights off, and I'm gonna play at nighttime, and I can't even get into the town. It's the first thing you do in the video game. I'm
First
like,
challenge, enter town.
guess the lights are coming on. I don't know. I eventually got through it, but damn, it took a minute. It was so scary to me, because to me it's like that's an extension of me. That character is a piece of me, and I can't let anything happen to them, and so it's super scary.
I also want to throw this out there. I was not going to bring this up because it's not a horror game, but like one of the things that has scared me most, and that is Silent Hill adjacent, I suppose. I one time was playing Minecraft, and I don't know what I did. I was trying to install a Silent Hill mod, and it just like completely ruined my save file. And it was like, and I didn't know until I loaded into like my other game that it had corrupted the file. So I was like, so my Minecraft house, like my supposedly normal Minecraft house, is suddenly just in the Silent Hill mist. And I'm like, I'm walking around and I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. And then there's just like random Silent Hill sound effects that would play through my speakers, like with ambient Minecraft music, and I was like, oh shit. And then like spiders started like, for whatever reason, giant spiders had the ability to just like glitch through my walls. Like while I was sleeping, I was like,
That's amazing.
stressed out. But I would forget that I wasn't just playing Minecraft, and then suddenly it's like Silent Hill is here, and I'd be like, ah.
Because that's the game.
Yeah, I ended up like I had to delete the whole thing out of my computer. Like reinstall it.
It's corrupted. Get rid of it. Exercise it.
That's scary. Oh, that's super scary. I don't. Yeah, that I can't. First of all, my little just got Minecraft on the Switch, and he got stuck underground, and I was like, I cannot help you right now. I can't breathe looking at this screen. You've got to find someone else that can help you. I was like, this is the scariest thing I have ever seen in my life. I cannot.
Here are some YouTube tutorials. Good luck.
Yes, I said that exact thing. I was like, why don't you watch YouTube and learn how to play? Because I can't help you get out of that dark place that you're in right now. I can't do it.
This is a hard reset moment, kiddo.
Parasite Eve was an okay. I don't know that one. Parasite Eve. Is that a PC game or was it on a console? I don't know that one. All right, Dice, what was one of your first favorites you wanted to talk about?
Oh, let's see. I guess I do a lot of my horror gaming experiences on my channel, so there's that. But one that I really wanted to mention for a multitude of different reasons is Sally Face.
Oh. Yes! I love that game. I haven't played it. I watched it, but...
No, it's... Yeah. No, I decided that I would play it myself because it looked very interesting. It's a side-scroller game, essentially.
Yep.
And the style of it, the art style, was very intriguing to me. And how it is horror, but it's not the usual horror, shall we say?
Yeah.
The characters were really interesting. The story was very, very interesting to me. But another reason why I think it will, if it hasn't already, become kind of nostalgic for me and very important for me is that I'm in the game. My logo is in the game, and I had no clue until I played it. I had no idea. I forget which part it is. It's because they're in chapters, but it's one of the later parts, and it's where the character of Sally Face is a bit older, and if you go into the basement of the house where Gizmo the cat is lounging on the couch, there's a wall of stickers. My logo's on that wall.
Oh, that's fun.
That's super cool. I love when indie game devs do stuff like that, where they put YouTuber stuff in. That's so fun.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the only one on that wall.
Sure.
I didn't even notice it the first time I walked by the wall, which I'm sure was infuriating to people who knew. But second time I noticed it, and again, another instance where I'm so glad that I was doing a Let's Play of it, because you get to see my genuine live reaction to it of like, what the fuck? Thank you! Who? What? So, not just for that reason, slight bias. Not just for that reason, but I think it's a really, really interesting game. And it goes through, shockingly enough, it goes through a lot of different emotions.
It does.
I don't want to spoil anything, but there is at least one truly heart-wrenching portion that you have to play through. You have no other choice.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched a gameplay of that one. I didn't play that one.
Yeah.
But I'm familiar with it. It's good, though. Like, it is, and it's definitely, I would definitely categorize, at the very least, it's horror adjacent.
Yeah, it's got some, like, Lovecraft elements, perhaps.
I can see that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's cool to have your logo in a game. I always see these people who, like, there's Let's Players that get, like, to do the voices and stuff. I mean, those are, like, next level Let's Players.
Yeah,
like, they're like, they do that, they're doing that shit full time, right? But it's cool when, you know, indie developers get to do stuff like that for Let's Players. That's super cool. Huh.
I'm waiting for somebody to say, hey, would you voice a character for this horror movie? Sure.
That would be, yes.
One day. Put it out there. Universe.
I'm open. Just send me a Gmail.
Send me a Gmail. Okay, Parasite Eve was on PlayStation. Yeah, I don't know that one.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, Albert? Thanks for stopping in. Altered Beast. I don't know that one either, but if Beast, like, what kind of beast? What kind of game was that? Do y'all know that one?
I can picture the hand. I think there's like a claw cover for it.
And is this the monster game?
I feel like it's an arcade game, right? It was like in an arcade.
Oh, here we go. Altered Beast was developed. I'm not going to try that. He took inspiration for the game from The Howling and the music video from Michael Jackson's song Thriller. Albert, that checks like so many boxes for you. I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't know that one.
I feel like the name is familiar.
Yeah. Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 2 were the best in the franchise. Why can't I remember?
Was the first
4 is the one. Yeah, 4 was good. Honestly, I didn't start losing interest until they went super military with it. Like 5 was okay, but 6, I didn't even bother. I played the demo, and then when they came out with 7, I was like, oh, they're finally going back to what it's supposed to be, and that was like back to the horror side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, hi, Horror Fiend. I don't know who is it? JR probably, maybe. Thanks for stopping in. Always nice to see that logo pop up on our lives. All right, cool. Kat, what were your first ones that you want to talk about?
So this is like my favorite game. This is not going to be a surprise for anyone. This is the one that I usually talk about as like my introduction into horror game, even though I played it years after Quake. And it's American McGee's Alice.
Oh yes,
Black Madness Returns.
Madness Returns. I love that one.
I played those I played American McGee's Alice as a kid. It was kind of my introduction into. It was one of those things where my parents were like, are you too young to be playing this? Like, am I too young to buy this for you? And it was like, it's just like Alice in Wonderland, guys. This is fine for me to have. But like neither of my parents were gamers, so they were like, yeah, that probably checks out. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, Disney.
Fine. That was like I would stay up late. I was like really paranoid, and not about the game, but that like my parents would find me playing the game and I wouldn't get to finish it. Like I sped run the hell out of that first game. But I love American McGee's Alice so much. I'm a big Alice in Wonderland fan. I love how seamless the horror elements were in it. I think it's also one of the scariest like non first person games. Usually I don't feel that connected unless I'm like in the game through the eyes. Yeah. And part of that I'm sure is Quake, but that was like a nice over the shoulder like third person experience, and it's so good. The graphics, it's so funny to like look back now at the graphics and be like, oh, like, because at the time it was like, whoa, those graphics.
Especially the jump from the first one to Madness Returns. Like that's a big, because if you have the second one, if you have Madness Returns, because I didn't play the first one first, I played Madness Returns. If you beat it all the way through on the Xbox, you get a downloadable for the original. It's almost unplayable.
It's really awkward it's a big part of like my gaming experience, because Madness Returns was the game that got me over to console games. It was really, really, really clunky on the PC, and I had played Alice on the PC, so I was like, I'll get Madness Returns for the PC, and it was like, these controls are absurd. Like, what happened? What happened? And then like, so I got it for the console, and I was like, and I had like, they have the 5 achievements that you get. It was my first platinum trophy on the PlayStation, and I was like, I'm 5 achievements away. They're all for playing through American McGee's Alice on the PlayStation, and I was like, I could play this game blindfolded. And I pick it up with the PlayStation controller, and I was like, oh boy, like, this is not console compatible either. And then suddenly it made a lot more sense. It was like, this is why I couldn't play Madness Returns on the keyboard. Like, it's awkward, but I love it. And I love how, especially in Madness Returns, they had kind of a psychological horror component in the first one. They lean really heavy into that for Madness Returns, where they blur that line in between what is and is not happening. And it's like, I thought it was great.
So good. Yeah. Like there's like that part where it's like in the beginning where you're riding through on the little cart and they're talking about, like, you can hear the conversations of the people and what they're talking about, like buying children for. And I'm like,
Chris Hansen.
Oh, this is rough. It was like, But it was, I mean, no, I love that one. I've replayed that one so many times, and it's such a fun. There was like rumors for the longest time that they were going to do like a live action something with it, but
yeah,
it never came to fruition. I don't know what happened, but I guess couldn't get the money or whatever. Because I think, weren't they both like, maybe not the exact thing as GoFundMe, but they basically like raised money to make those games, I think. And then they just couldn't do anything else to make it. But I would have loved to have seen a live action. Risky, but I think they could have probably pulled it off. Those Alice games were great. Love the art style. Yes. I love the way the world looks when she's got that blood rage thing. That thing is so cool. Still holds up. Totally agree. Madness Returns, the only one up the graphics. They did for sure. Manhunt 1 and 2 are great games, and in my opinion, there should be a Manhunt film. I never played Manhunt.
There is, but it's probably not related to the games.
Probably not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Unless Hannibal Lecter is involved, maybe not.
I can't believe that one's not on my list, Kat. Good shout. I'm glad you brought that one up. I love that one. Yeah, that is not on here. That's insane. I definitely consider it a horror game. All right, Steve, what was your first one you want to talk about?
Well, actually, before I do that one, I completely forgot about some games that actually probably were my OG horror games as a kid.
It was a lie. Start over.
You got to start over, all the way from the beginning. No, because I honestly, I guess they're technically horror games, but they're for kids. There was Disney Interactive's Nightmare Ned from 1997.
Oh,
I didn't play that one.
Humongous? Pajama Sam. I was thinking about that one too.
Yeah.
So Pajama Sam, Putt Putt, and Freddy Fish, they were like PC games for kids.
I remember Freddy Fish.
What?
I remember the fish game. Go ahead.
Freddy Fish, yeah. Putt Putt was the talking car with the dog. But then, no, Pajama Sam, there were like 3 games. But the first one was about him like going into like the boogeyman's
like
world.
a nightmare realm.
The nightmare realm. And like, you know, and it was like about him just like facing his fears of like the dark. And then Nightmare Ned, very similar. He like goes into like 5 different nightmares. And it was a Disney Interactive game. It was the first time Disney had subcontracted a developer for their games. But yeah, these were like fun, like, you know, spooky light for kids, but like probably the first time I enjoy like getting that kind of a throw out of a video game. So yeah. Anywho, I totally forgot about those until just now. And but yeah, no, I wanted to talk about Resident Evil again because I had played, I think 4 was my first one, but I really just sort of like you were saying, Angel, like I really like was blown away. My favorites, funny enough, are actually 7 and 8 because I was just blown away by like the reset button that they hit with those games. I had so much fun with like it was just so different from what had come before, but still felt very Resident Evil, but still fresh. I really loved Ethan's story and his daughter.
Yes.
Aesthetically, they're just beautiful, and I love that like you kind of get these homages to other horror. Like, you know, it's very Texas Chainsaw Grindhousey in Biohazard, and then you get this like Romanian, very like Dracula-esque, with other things going on with Village, and they were just like fun, and kind of combining like the action-heavy sequels with the horror-heavy originals, and just kind of like creating like a beautiful love child of the two.
Yeah.
Also, Lady D.
What?
Lady D, bless.
That's right.
Dimitrescu. So I mean, like, oh man.
Having multiple people
they're
like,
all,
mommy, sorry.
But then you get like the tech. What do you call I forgot his name, but like he's got like the mechanical powers. He's moving things. It's just so fun.
Yeah, 7 was emotional. There's like that scene with the dad, and they're like having that little like this is like towards the end of the game. It's like that part got like I didn't play this one because it's scary, but I watched it and it's actually one of my honorable mentions because I was so excited. 6 really upset me. And I really didn't like how military 5 was either. But if you beat 5, you got to go back to the mansion. And so I did it anyway. But it was like 7, I felt like really went back to what I wanted in a Resident Evil game. So 7 is good. 8, I wasn't as bemused with 8 as everybody else. But again, didn't play it, watched it. And but 7's so good. I really love 7.
Mm-hmm.
My brother's a pretty decent fan of that one too, and he doesn't do horror very much. So,
Yeah.
And I think 7 was the most hours I put into it because I just kept wanting to replay certain parts of it, and I was like really achievement hunting on that one.
Oh yeah.
And then there's like weird mini games you can play on it, and like it really just goes and like you want to try to get the tapes you're trying to find, all the like little Easter egg stuff. Yeah, no, I dug the hell out of those two.
Yeah, I like the found footage element and the like that when they did the what they do release it as like a teaser. Was it a what did they do? Did they release it as a demo where the guys go into the house? I think it was a demo, right? Because you got to actually play as the one of the guys that's like recording stuff.
Yeah,
because you find their van when you go back.
Yeah.
Right.
The Twisted Birthday Party thing is a big found footage part of the game.
That one too. I bet that's one of the reasons I like 7 so much. I never thought about that until just now.
And you play within the VHS tape, and it's very found footage. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a big part of it. I never thought about that like that. That's a good point. Yeah. The Blood Rain games. Kat and I have lots of opinions on Blood Rain.
Yay, Blood Rain.
And the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver were pretty good vampire games. I didn't play Soul Reaver. Kat, you play that one?
I did not.
I don't know that one. I played Blood Rain though.
Yeah, Blood Rain is my favorite vampire game. I'm not a huge fan of the vampire things. Typically, I was gonna say games, but it's not a game exclusive problem.
It's
like
just...
I'm always harder on vampire stuff. It's everything. But like Blood Rain, I think is the epitome of vampire games. I also played a bunch of Castlevania, but I don't feel as passionately about those as I feel about Blood Rain.
Yeah, Blood Rain. Yeah, those games were good and fun. Like they were just very like I don't know, very I don't know. I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar a little bit. I don't know. I like those. Those were fun.
Girl power.
That's right. And some of the stuff she could do. It's just oof. Anyway. Okay, cool. So that's back to me. Yeah. Sticking to games I have played and not watched. Another one I kind of wanted to talk about mostly because it's a very like emotional game, I feel, but is this game called Among the Sleep. You play this one, you play as a toddler. It's Steve. It's so good. You play as a toddler whose parents are estranged, and as a toddler you like get up in the middle of the night and you're going through to different worlds via the closets, and it's very cute. And you're being chased. It's a puzzle game, and then a slightly survival. It feels weird calling it that, but you do have to hide. You can't fight this female symbolism
Eldritch shadow.
Yeah.
And there's a teddy bear.
And there's the teddy bear. I swear to you, I thought was nefarious. I knew that. I was like, the teddy bear
evil
is not to be trusted, and the teddy bear is like your little friend that you like carry around. But anyway, it's super cute, but it's also really emotional, and it's very much about like childhood abuse and neglect, and like it's deep. But when I went into playing it, I didn't expect that. I watched Markiplier play part of it. That's where that came from. And then I was like, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna try and play it myself because this looks like a really fun, cutesy kind of game. And I was actually pretty okay at it. I'm not very good at the hiding stuff. I'm more of a walk up and stab things a bunch of times kind of player, but it worked out fine. I managed. But it was such a cute game. But there's like, as you play through the game, the levels start to reveal more and more of what's going on. And it was very like, oh no. This is before I was a parent, but it was very like, if I played it out, I'd probably cry the whole time. But it was very like, it was the first time I had played a horror game where I had like my feelings hurt. Like I was crushed for this child and I wanted to fist fight the mom in a parking lot kind of thing. Like it was very upsetting, but it was so well done. And it looked really cool, and the concept was so cool because children see the world differently than we do. And I don't know, it just got me. I thought it was such a good game, and it was super easy to navigate. I love easy games, and but it was just one that like was pretty creepy at moments, but also just like really got to me and my feelings. So I wanted to mention Among the Sleep.
while you're talking about gameplay, because you mentioned that you're like a more go up and stab things kind of player, this is why I have a tough time with horror games. Like the ones that I love so much, but there are a lot that I kind of exclude from my rotation because I think that like the scariest kind of mechanics are the ones that frustrate me the most, and once I'm frustrated I can't be scared anymore, and it's
I'm just mad at it. Yeah.
Stealth games are a huge thing like that for me because like I'm bad at stealth mechanics. I get really frustrated and it's like I can see on paper like why this is scary, but in practice let me stab the thing. Like,
I'm with you.
I think Among the Sleep was like one of the big exceptions to the rule for me because it's not a difficult game. Like it's a very beautiful, very poignant game, but I never got super frustrated by the stealth mechanic, which made it a lot easier for me to play, I think.
Yeah, it was a relatively simple game. And I think that works because of the storyline. I mean, you're playing as a toddler. The puzzles can't be that hard. Like otherwise, right. But but it was oddly eerie. Like there's parts of this that were like where you're in like I don't know what to call it, like a bog almost. Like it's like dark and you're outside, but you're not outside. I don't know. It's very like, but whoever did like the art of it, the way that it looks is stunning, and it was pretty creepy in my opinion. But it also, like I said, was one of the first horror games I ever played that made me feel anything. And I don't know that that's easy to do in a video game. I mean, maybe there's some that get to me, BioShock Infinite for whatever reason, but for the most part, like video games don't normally get to me emotionally like that. So it was kind of a like, oh, this is different kind of thing. To play and then get through. Let me see this really quick. Nightmare Creatures for N64 was too legit to quit. I didn't play that either. I was a huge N64 player.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
I didn't have an N64. So.
I'm like writing down a lot of these.
I was about to say, is there such thing as a TBP, to be played list? You know, like a TBR, but for games?
I mean, I've written Among the Sleep, Blood Rain, and I never touched. I'm going to write this one too.
Yeah.
And then the Sally one, Sally, right?
Sally Faith.
Yeah, that one I was going to write too. I couldn't remember which female name it was. It was someone.
I think you'll like Sally Face, and I think you'd like Among the Sleep because those are the ones I know. The ones you just said.
Yeah.
All right, guys. What's your next one you want to talk about?
Let's see. I have to bring this up. I know probably at this point everybody's very sick of hearing it whenever someone talks about horror games, but Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, that's on my honorable mention.
I bring it up as a whole franchise that it's become. Mm-hmm. I think, one, the history of how the games came about is interesting, but what's even more interesting is the lore behind it. It's endlessly fascinating to me because the concept of taking something that I think we all kind of figured was a little creepy, the pizza place animatronics, there's something wrong there.
Yeah.
And Scott took that and said, watch this. Made it even more creepy. And there's, for some reason for me, the jump scares can still get me, even though I've seen everybody play these games.
Yeah.
I tried to play the first one. I did not finish it because Bonnie kept eating me. But we tried. So watching others play it is primarily how I would go about this. And the more like lore and stuff that would be revealed, the more I'm like, whoa. Wait a minute, you're telling me that the bodies of the children are in the animatronic? That's weird. That's creepy. Okay. And now, of course, we have a movie. I've cosplayed before the movie. You'll love this, because I didn't put together for a while until after the movie came out. But in 2017, I went to a con and I cosplayed as Mike Schmidt. Very simplistic, because we didn't know what he looked like. Very simplistic. So I had the, like, Night Watch shirts, the hat, the badge, everything. Yeah. And I met Matthew Lillard as Mike Schmidt.
That's crazy.
I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. So I thought that was kind of... Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny when I put it together. I went, oh, shit. But, no, the games, the lore, everything that it spawned is really quite amazing. So.
Yeah, it really blew up that that like subgenre, that like mascot horror thing. Like it really turned into like all the fan made games. You've got Poppy's Playtime. You've got what's the other really big one that was like that? I can't think of what it's called now. But the mascot thing got like really big. A Cat has the best cosplay story involving.
Oh, God. I don't know why I let people record me when I talk. Yeah.
This was a mistake.
Yeah, I once was part of a Five Nights at Freddy's cosplay group. But it, conditional, before I look like an asshole again, they knew when we put this up that I was going to be on the road like the several months leading up, like in between the time we decided to do this and the time that it was con day. They knew that I had no time. I was on the road. There was no way I was putting together anything elaborate. Convention morning shows up. I roll up to my friend's house and I'm wearing like a yellow t-shirt that says "Let's eat." I've got a cupcake. I'm like, I've nailed this. I'm ready to go. I'm walking up to my friend's apartment and you can like see the big plushy like Foxy head through the window and I'm like, oh shit. I fucked up real bad.
Abort mission.
And it's like knock on the door and it's like, hey, I'm here. We did it. And then everyone got extra frustrated with me because at this point I've given up, right? Like everyone's in these fancy mascot suits and I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. We're going to separate and people will assume that the Chica looks really good too. And so like, because I've already given up, I like ate the cupcake also on the way to the convention. It's like, well, day's shot. I'm just having a cupcake for breakfast. And, like, when I wasn't next to them, I got a lot of compliments. They're like, oh, that's such a fun, easy cosplay. And I'm like, right? Like, yeah. And then I just aborted mission, like, entirely. Like, it's because they do the cosplay photo sessions. And I was just like, what if I didn't go? What if I just don't go? What if there's
Whoever
no
said I was there
evidence
lied.
And then here I am talking about it again on recording,
It's
like
so it's
confessing
such
to
a
my
funny
crime.
story though, because you're like, I'm wearing a Let's Eat shirt and I have a cupcake. I nailed it.
I've got it. I was like, and it's like it is the time constraint thing because we had done a bunch of elaborate cosplays before, and like when I had the time, I always matched energy levels. I just assumed because I was going to be on the road, I guess. Because it was well established that we were looking for something kind of easy, like, I don't know. I was wrong. I misjudged.
Yeah, I haven't. The only Five Nights at Freddy's games I've played, like actually played, is I lasted for 0.2 seconds in the virtual reality version of Night 1.
Ooh.
Don't recommend that. That is terrifying. The kids will play it. They're fine. Not me.
No.
I heard music playing and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this.
You hear the music box and go, nope.
I can't do it. I literally last like 5 seconds. I'm not joking. You're in the game. Like it's literally the doors that could come through are right next to your eyeballs. I'm not doing it. But the only ones I've played is I played a little bit of Security Breach. And then I was mentioning earlier, I just started playing Into the Pit, which is the newest one that just came out this past week, which is more old school gaming. Still pretty scary, but different drawing style and not as realistic, thank God, looking as the other ones. But it was on my honorable mentions because I feel like when you talk about horror gaming, you have to talk about FNAF at least a little bit. So I get that. Let me do comments real quick.
Yeah, we got some comments.
Yeah, I got you. Good evening, JR. What's up? JR says Super Mario Kart is a horror game. My son might agree with that.
It can become that.
It can. Liver Alone, is that a game? I don't know that one either.
No, that's
Matthew Lillard. Scream.
Yeah, in Scream.
Yeah.
Liver Alone.
Never alone.
Oh,
fountain.
I was confused. I was like, I don't know what that means. I forgot we were just talking about Matthew Lillard. That's right. Night Trap was a good horror game. It got banned. I don't know that one.
That's with the live action cutscenes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that one.
I've heard of that one, yeah.
Loved Nightmare Goth is. Yeah. Oh, Rick, you know that. What's up, Rick? I didn't know that one. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, FNAF is good. I really like those games, and I know this is probably super controversial, and I get that, but I actually think that Poppy, from a storyline perspective, has kind of got me more enamored than like FNAF, because FNAF, like, you know, the lore and the building, and there are parts of it that are so good. But then there are parts of it that like don't make any sense, and then there's just like parts that are missing, and then sometimes it's a lot. Like Kat and I talked about this when we talked about the movie and video game adaptations, but it's like I think it started out as one thing, and because of its popularity, it grew into something else, which I think is great. I love the fan base and the connection to building the story out and making it more than it was and stuff. But I really like.
Calm down.
I'm like a huge like Poppy Playtime is on my honorable mentions too, because again, haven't played it but watched it. So good. Like it's super good, and I love what FNAF has done to that subgenre of horror gaming. I think it's really cool too.
Yeah, combining some sort of like childhood nostalgia thing and terrifying imagery. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Because FNAF came out before. What's the other one? The Mickey Mouse looking one. Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was kind of like, I realize that's not mascots, but it kind of is in the same vein of like what you were just saying, Dice, about like taking something that's supposed to be cute and innocent and making it like not so cute and innocent.
Yes. Terrifying, traumatizing. Yes.
Ask Rick about Super Mario Party is a horror for Rick. Night Trap. Yeah, everybody knew that one but me. I just don't know that one. Those games
it's like
terrify me.
Sort of.
Mario Party terrifies you, or Bendy is pretty strange. Yeah, that's actually rumored. I keep hearing rumors that they're going to make a movie out of that, but Poppy's in the same situation they keep talking about. Because FNAF was successful, regardless of how everyone feels or doesn't feel, but it was super successful. So now they're like, we can make money off turning video games into movies again? Really? Mario Party.
If they do, which I believe that they are, I've been told multiple times that they're going to have at least like 2 other movies for FNAF. If Matthew Lillard comes back, and maybe we get a little cameo from Markiplier and or Jacksepticeye, then I am 100% on board. Let's do this.
Yeah, he's from what I saw in horror news, he's signed on for 3 movies. Lillard is.
Okay.
And there's also talk of it being up to 6 things total, 3 movies and spinoffs.
Wow. Well, if they go back into the history of it, then maybe
they've got a lot they could do. I'm hoping one of them is going to be Sister Location, because
True.
That one's terrifying. That one's good.
Yes. Yes.
When you got to hide in that little box and she no thanks. That was scary.
Oh, there's mini dolls. That's great.
They should make an Alien game where you play a face hugger.
Yeah, just hop on people's faces.
And it's just a romance story. Yes. Let's do that.
I have no idea where I was. Kat, I think it's Kat's turn. I don't know. Kat, what was your next one?
My next one is I almost didn't bring this up because a lot of my picks I tried to go like the scarier, more serious route. But I have to talk about The Binding of Isaac. It is the horror game.
Oh, of course you have to talk about. Yeah.
Like 400 hours per console, like per edition. I'm addicted to this game. It's a dual joystick nightmare of a game to play. It's a roguelike. And for those of you who don't know, you play as Isaac, whose mother decides she has to sacrifice him for God. And you jump into a hole that leads to the basement, where you find all these monsters and stuff, and you have to fight them off with your tears, which I think is just like, it's objectively ridiculous that you just are a child crying on monsters to make them go away. And like, the further you get into the game, the further down into the like hellish levels of the basement you descend, and it's just it's nightmarish. There's a lot of biblical allusions. It's an absolutely insane game, but I do love it. It's insane. We're up to, there was Binding of Isaac, and then they did DLC, and then they did like a different one, and now we're up to Repentance, which has just like hundreds and hundreds of achievement and several more hours of content, and I highly recommend. I don't think it's as scary inherently as a lot of the games that we've talked about and that I have on my list, but
Yeah.
if you're just looking for a horror game that's like gameplay focused, I really can't think of one that I enjoy more or has more replay value than The Binding of Isaac.
That sounds cool. That on
Yeah.
my.
Yeah.
I like the way you talked about it.
I don't know this one either. Seaman was disturbing.
Seaman?
That game freaked me. That's how I read it at first too, and I was like, I'm not saying it like that. That game freaked me out. It was developed by Vivarium. Oh, it was conceived and designed by Sato, who originally came up with the concept of a joke when one of his coworkers was creating a tropical fish simulator. I'm catching up, JR. The fish had a human face, like what the fuck, and he spoke to you and reacted to your to your voice. Rick says, "Oh my god, it was made for the." Oh, okay. Nightmare fuel inducing, bro. That fucker freaked me out. They're just having a conversation. Need a drink just thinking about it. Ruined Leonard Nimoy. Wait, why? What? What is the connection there?
Yeah, was
Explain.
Nimoy the fish?
What is the? Yeah, was he the voice? What
Finding
was-
Nimoy? What?
He'll come back around, I guess. All right, Steve. What was your next?
Yeah,
one?
I'm gonna hop around since we're talking about puppets and animatronics. So my version of FNAF that I really loved is a newish game. I think it came out a year ago, called My Friendly Neighborhood.
Oh
And
yes.
So because like Sesame Street and the Muppets and everything Jim Henson
Yes,
is so close
yes,
to my
yes.
heart, I love that game so much.
Yeet
So
the
for people that
puppet.
don't know, you play like a maintenance guy who is getting reports of a rogue broadcast coming from the old studios that played this puppet show, and so you have to go to shut down the broadcast that's coming, and it is like very similar as like I got very emotional by the end of this movie. Or the end of this movie, it felt like a movie. By the end of this game, just like sort of like the puppet stories and sort of like the reason behind the broadcast and like sort of your decision to shut it down or not shut it down becomes a very emotional one. It is really good, and it's like there's a few jump scares in it. There's some atmospheric stuff. It's not super scary either. But like there's like really fun mechanics. Like you shoot at them with an alphabet gun that just shoots letters.
Oh my god, that's adorable.
And then there's like really fun like Easter eggs in there and little cheats that you can find, and then you could like mod the game for like speed runs or different things you can do.
Yeah.
There's kind of one-to-one for like the Sesame Street characters. So like there's like their version of Big Bird, their version of the Cookie Monster, right. And they all have like little catchphrases when you kill them, or they're coming after you, and they're all just saying like It's like Kermit being like, "Yay, I'm gonna kill you." It's really fun. But yeah, no, My Friendly Neighborhood. And then there was like a really cool like when you beat the game, but you have to do it like right before you beat it, you have to go into like a secret little room, and you get a QR code that you scan by solving a puzzle, and the QR code sends you to a private Discord channel.
Oh, that's cool.
And then there's a little community of people who like found the QR code.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's fun.
Yeah. I haven't played. I'm familiar with it. I know I've seen things about it. I just haven't played it.
Yeah, and now it's not as big as any of the like Puppies or obviously FNAF, but like I feel like it's found its like little niche of people that love it.
That's cool. No, I love that. My next one I'll talk about. Again, sticking to ones I've played. Detention.
Mark that one off my list.
Yeah, so I figured you might have it on yours, Kat. So, we covered this on video game adaptations. You can see why Kat's here. there's a reason. So Detention is on the list for a few reasons. First of all, it's very, very coolly designed. It's a very fun like the way that they use the color or lack thereof, depending on how you want to look at it, and the way that they move through the art in it. It's such a stunning game. But Detention was the first horror game I played after getting introduced to the concept of Let's Plays. So I'm an avid John Wolfe fan. I started out on Markiplier, but he's like, everybody knows who that is. So I'm too cool for cool, right? So I was like, I'm gonna find people that like nobody.
He's mainstream now.
He's too mainstream. That's it. And I can't do it. So no, I like Markiplier still, I guess, but I don't watch his stuff anymore. But I watch John Wolfe, and I'm an avid John Wolfe fan. And so he played Detention years ago, and I accidentally had started watching, I guess, like not the first episode. Y'all know how YouTube be sometimes. And so I was like, oh, this looks like a super cool game. So I watched like him play through a little bit of it, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna try to play that myself. And it was the first game I played once I'd learned what Let's Players even were, because I didn't even know that was a thing until Markiplier started playing Five Nights at Freddy's. And then that was how I learned about what that was. But it's also on a list because it gives me a lot of anxiety when I play it. I think that there's, these games where you have to navigate and hide, and you have to do things in a certain time frame or you get got, right? Like those are always like, ugh. But this is it's technically a side scroller, right? I mean, I know there's like an angle that you can go, but it's technically it's technically a side scroller. And so
it's side scroller adjacent. It's odd camera angle side scroller.
There's times in the game where you're definitely watching your character come down instead of to the side, but it's very but it's technically, I think, supposed to be like a side scroller, but it's very scary to me. The story, good. Like it's so good. It's essentially a story about Kat knows the historical stuff probably better than me, but it's essentially like, you're not supposed to read these books, don't read these books, these kids read the books, bad things happen to them. That's a very short Angel way of explaining the storyline. But it's also got a phenomenal movie that you can watch if you don't want to play the video game. Highly recommend that. I've watched it a bunch of times. It's very good. But it's on my list.
My favorite, and this isn't a spoiler because we've talked about it. That's my favorite video game horror adaptation.
The movie, though, right? Not the show. The
Detention movie, not the show. The show is also fun. It's good, but it Detention adapts. Detention the movie adapts the game Detention, whereas Detention the show is like, what if we put this on a third extra timeline, and it takes place in the 90s, and it's just kind of about book banning instead of like the actual white terror of Taiwan that was like a historical, so it's a little bit scattered, but it's also
the movie is so good though. Like it's beautiful. Like cinematography wise, it is gorgeous. There are scenes that are straight scenes from the game, and they're just gorgeous. But it's on there because it was the first horror game I ever got back into playing after watching Let's Plays. It really would not have normally been a game I would have probably given a chance to, but it was definitely gave me a lot of anxiety. It's a beautiful game, and so it had to be on my list for favorites for horror games. And if you are watching this and you have not seen the movie, please go watch it. I think it's still streaming. It's so good. You will not regret it. Especially if you're not going to play the game. Definitely watch the movie. But,
all right. Play the game. Like
you could do that too, but I'm just saying
simultaneously.
If you're that's it. Have it up while you're playing. Exactly.
It was banned for a long time, so I remember like illegally downloading Detention and being like, "Am I going to get in trouble for this?" And I did not, because no one ever does. but now you can just get it on Steam. Like it's up there.
You can just
pick it up. Yeah. Make use of the like lack of censorship and play yourself some anti-censorship games.
All right, Dice, what you got for your next one?
This is another indie game that's getting a little bit more popular. It's going to be getting some like different platforming, which is nice because it is a solely PC game currently. And I've been recommending it to my friend, and he's like, I can't do that on my computer. I'm like, well, wait. But I am not someone who's terribly easy to legitimately scare and unsettle. Jump scaring is different, but to unsettle and to be like, oh shit.
Truly disturbed.
This game did that multiple times and actually got me to as close to Scream as I can possibly manage twice. That's the Mortuary Assistant.
Oh yes, I watched your Let's Play on this.
Yeah. It is really quite a fantastic game. I wasn't sure about it when I first went into it. I mean, it looked really nice. I liked the premise of it. Yeah. If you just have the concept of working in a mortuary after dark, that alone, creepy enough. But there's supernatural elements thrown in. I have not finished it. I'm sure there are additional things that have been added to it since I last played it, so I need to get back to it. But it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
You're literally, in a digital sense, working on dead bodies.
Yeah.
And this is not 100% fake. Like, the creator of this game knows what he's talking about as far as what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, what the process is.
Yeah.
And then you throw a demon in.
Yeah.
And you got shadow people showing up and stuff. Highly recommend.
It's definitely something you don't want to play in VR.
God, no.
That would be interesting. See, that's where you get into the sadomasochistic territory, I think. Which I'm not saying I'm above, but
really going in and, you know,
let me get up real close here.
You have to do like a lot of stuff. You have to like get in. You have to do like the fluid flushing.
You got to dig in them guts.
It's intense. Yeah.
It's been on my playlist for a while. I got to be in the mindset, and it's gonna have to be on a bright and sunny day.
You think that will help you? No.
I mean, these windows will be wide open, sun coming in.
We're going to turn on all the lights. We're going to be oversaturated, but
I'm going to have Wizard of Oz playing in the background.
I played it at least one time. I didn't time it this way on purpose, but I played it one time where the weather outside where I live matched in the game because it was gray, overcast, stormy. There was thunder, and I'm like, this is not helping. This is not. I don't.
Oh no.
Maybe I shouldn't record. No, we should. We should.
So is it jump scare heavy, or is it more like?
I think it builds up the atmosphere a lot more. There are jump scares, yes, but it's not like your traditional. It's not like FNAF,
right?
Necessarily, it's more like if you happen to catch something by the window, it's oh fuck, or there's something lurking around the corner. I got jump scared by something lurking around the corner because I was not expecting it to be there. I was focused on just like, okay, we just need. Oh, we got to go to the other room. Perfect, yeah, but lights will be shut off and turned back on. You'll see something like down the hallway, that kind of stuff.
It's like a good Mike Flanagan jump scare.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's like it sounds like it's more cinematically crafted.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's nothing like loud noises to just jump scare you, but every once in a while it is more visually unsettling kind of thing. So.
Yeah. It also doesn't help that it looks very real. Like it's
true.
Very well made in the way that it looks very realistic. I mean, obviously it's still a video game, right? But it's convincing. It looks good. So
it is first person as well.
Yeah, it's also
so I'm sure
first
that
person.
Helps.
Yeah.
There is, which I always forget, but it is an important part of the story. But the character that you play, she has a background that is rather dark and disturbing, and that's unveiled a little bit more as you go along. So.
Oh, very cool.
House of the Dead and Carnival are the best arcade-style horror games, in my opinion. I played House of the Dead. Oh, we did. Didn't we do that one too?
We did.
Not
if you want
Carnival.
a movie you should not watch, House of the Dead. Just play the game. Have some fun. Find yourself an arcade and go crazy.
Oh, that movie was banana. Yeah, the Mortuary Assistant. I watched somebody do the demo, and then I've watched what you've done of it, Dice, on your channel. And yeah, it's not an Angel game. I could play that one. I'd have a heart attack. I'd quit. I'd give up.
Just people going, we gotta go now.
Yeah, I can't. And that's going to be the shortest Let's Play ever. Done. I'm out. I can't do it.
Maybe, once I feel brave enough, maybe I'll stream it.
Work your way
there you go.
build up
but
to
yeah,
it. Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
It's going to be a very expletive heavy.
Yes,
live
I
stream.
imagine that's probably true. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. Kat, what was your next one?
So, I tried not to just choose all exclusively short little indie games, which I've been very vocal about. That's like my favorite. I love horror games where it's like, I'm bored. Let's traumatize myself in 60 minutes or less, and I can just
Yeah.
like download something onto my computer from a shady website, and I'm good to go. That's that's my
Shady
favorite genre. I could easily have done like a top 10 or 20 of all those style of games, and I tried really hard not to do that. I did have to sneak one on there though,
Okay.
to represent the entire like subgenre of games that Kat plays. And the one that I chose, probably to no one's surprise, is The Static Speaks My Name.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I think about that game all
That's a
the
good one.
time. It's like it takes maybe 30 minutes on a first playthrough. I think my last took closer to like I don't even think it took a full 20 on my last playthrough, but it's like so unsettling, and it just I think about it all the time. And it's not like scary in the visuals necessarily, or like and the plot is it's so hard to talk about because it's like it's not that outrageous, but it's upsetting. It's one of those like read the trigger warnings for this
Oh
game
yeah.
because you'll be upset. Like
Yeah.
it'll just be, but you're just a man going about your to-do list for the day, and it's and it just like I seriously I think about this game at least once a week. And it got under my skin in a way that most games don't. And that's why I do love those short little
Yeah.
they don't take any time, but you're like, whoa.
It
Yeah,
lingers
leaves a
the
mark.
impact. Yeah.
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 So
I have some indie games on my whatever they're called, honorable mentions. But I don't have any.
I like to show appreciation to the indie games. They seem. I like horror games in general, but kind of like Kat. I'm over here like let's look on some indie games real quick here.
Yeah.
What do we got? That sounds weird. Yeah, let's do that.
And some of those are like to both of y'all's points, it's like you really don't always expect or know, like, going into it, like if it's going to hit as hard as like some of the more like, the bigger titles, but they do. And some of them do it in a smaller time frame with way less money and effort. Like I mean, I've played like pixelated games that were too much. Like it's impressive what they can do, on an indie scale when it comes to horror games, for sure.
I ended up because I shared one of my 5 with Angel, I'm gonna end up probably pulling a second one of these indie games from my honorable mentions. But that was the one that like I specifically chose. But I love that when like Game Jam comes up or there's any kind of like indie event, I always go through the horror section and it's like, what can I play that's gonna like that I'll
What
be
can you
talking
give me that will
about
scar me?
forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the Static Speaks My Name actually you can get on Steam. Again, trigger warnings. Like go through if you're someone that's going to be bothered by something, just do a quick double check of those because it's not one that I recommend. Like I think all of the other ones that I've talked about I'd recommend pretty much to anybody to see if you like it. And this is not one of those, but
This is not for a fun afternoon.
no, it's for a fun afternoon. Even
Yeah.
I kind of feel bad after, but like you no longer have to get it from a shady website, is what I'm saying, I guess. Because a lot of these, like I played a lot of those like early 2000s point and click games where you'd have to go to like doyouenterthehouse.com and you're like, what kind of viruses am I gonna get from this? But you play it anyway.
All the pop-ups. Just
Who cares?
All right, cool. Steve, what did you have for your next one?
I'll shout out an indie game. I think it's an indie game. This it got a little big, but it's a Daniel Mullins game called Inscription, and I was obsessed, and I do want to go back to play this game. It is technically only 1/3 horror, and I don't want to spoil why I gave it that number because there are multiple acts in this game. But the basic premise, and all you get from the idea of it is You wake up in a creepy dark cabin at a table in front of someone, and you got to play a card game.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is
Okay.
it is such a love letter to analog card games and Magic the Gathering, like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, those kinds of card games, PC games, and there's such like a deep lore built into this game as well. As you play, it unravels, and it is. When I tell you, when the the first act break happens, I screamed. I was floored. And then there's like some live action stuff that's cut into it. So you're getting sort of a world outside of the game understanding. And then there's even hints. I've played a little bit of his other games, the Hex and Pony Island. And,
Pony Island, I know. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a second Pony Island coming, and there's like he's not super explicit with it, but almost like in the way that FNAF becomes. They're all sort of interconnected, and there's a deeper lore there, and it's just I just 100%. It's on Steam, Switch, PlayStation, maybe Xbox. I don't know.
Because I talked about like some of my exceptions to the rule games, I with a passion hate deck builders. And this is like the big exception where it's like you don't even want to call it a deck builder because it's so much more than that. But it's a kind of gameplay that I usually would avoid, and I love Inscryption so much. It's because of the lore, and all of his games have kind of that like meta element.
Yeah, very
that's
meta.
Just like a little bit unsettled. Pony Island, I think, maybe a little bit more so than.
Yeah.
I don't know. Inscryption has its but I also great pick. Love that game.
No,
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I can't recommend it enough. It is just it's so cool. And I even went and I think it wasn't eBay. I think it was Etsy or someone had made physical cards. And I bought a deck of the cards that you get in the first part. And it's
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. It's super fun. And then it's so atmospheric. And your mind will be blown.
And you said that only like the first act is horror, but they lean really heavy into the horror stuff. Like you get there are mechanics in there where you're like, whoa.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but there's like body horror for sure.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think what else there was. There was definitely some. Was there one? There was a jump scare, I think, at some point. I remember.
There's like a jump scare. There's some folk horror in there.
Yeah.
The body horror was what really got me in the first act because you're like, it's so funny because they kind of tell you what's going to happen and then you're still kind of not expecting it. You're like, whoa.
And it's also part like escape room puzzle game too.
Yeah.
It really runs the gamut.
Great game.
Back to me. My next one is going to be Visage, specifically Chapter 1. This one was a big deal, I feel like, because, we got the... what just happened? My computer made a bunch of noises. Okay, moving on.
Nobody panic.
Yeah, I was like, what is that exclamation point mean? So, we got PT, the Silent Hill playable teaser, and then Silent Hills got canceled, and none of us have ever recovered. And so around that time, there was like a ton of games that were coming out, or supposed to come out, that were indie games that were supposed to be like heavily influenced by PT or heavily Silent Hill geared. And like one of them was like Allison Road was one that I was like, oh, this is going to be so good when it comes out. It never happened. In fact, I think that one raised money and then like didn't even, anyway, that's neither here nor there. But there was a bunch of games around that time that were kind of marketing themselves as this, like, this is what we're going to try to accomplish with this game. And since we didn't get Silent Hills, and so and Visage was one of the ones that was kind of marketed that way. It was like, oh, this is going to be like that basically. And so in the first chapter, this house, and it's basically just like you have to do like what's the mechanic where you go like insane if you're like in the dark. It's kind of like the
sanity
what's the
meter?
game that started that
Amnesia.
the dark descent. Yeah. So which isn't on here, but it should be somewhere. But there's like the insane mechanic where like if there's not enough lights, you slowly go insane, and then when this little girl shows up, boy does she make entrances. You have to like run away and hide and stuff, and it was really it looks incredible. The story is super sad. It's very scary. I don't know that I would call it a super simple like easy game. Like to me, it took me a while to get used to the mechanics of how the game was played, but it was like the first game that was promised to be something similar to Silent Hills that actually even came out compared to all the others that didn't make it. And I don't honestly, I know that they did a chapter 2 because I watched that one. I watched John Wolf play that one, and there were supposed to be others, but it all happens in the same house. It's just each chapter is a different story, basically, but they all happen in the same house. I guess like different times or something like that. But Visage was just, I thought was super good. Like I was worried it was going to be kind of like, meh, but I watched the teaser for it before it was like actually available to play, and it looked terrifying, and it is terrifying, and the story is very tragic. And outside of the getting used to the game mechanics of how to play it, it made for a really good, like very scary game to play. And I felt like everybody was talking about it, and then like nobody talks about it anymore. And I don't know if it's because people were disappointed. I don't know if the other chapters maybe just weren't as good. I don't know. But I thought that the first chapter was super strong, and definitely, while I wouldn't say that it 100% filled the void that would have been Silent Hills, it definitely gave enough of an homage to those games that I kind of could see why they would try to kind of put it in the same category. But it was super good.
Yeah. So, you want to laugh? I have Steam open as we're talking, and I'm just like
adding stuff to your wish list.
Adding wish list. We're adding to carton and just save for later. One of those.
Oh, cool. All right, Dice. What's your next one?
This is shock, surprise, almost like this is the whole point. A very interesting game to me. It's a trilogy with, I believe, another one that came out either this year or very recently. Outlast.
I just added that to
Outlast.
my honorable mentions.
I watched Markiplier primarily play the first one in Whistleblower, and I'm a story person.
Yeah.
I love the stories. It didn't hurt at all that it's Mount Massive Asylum is supposed to be in the mountains of Colorado, and I'm like, fuck. But I thought that the story was really, really interesting. The mechanics of it was very interesting. You have to have the night vision, otherwise you are fucked.
Yes.
So just this, it's isolated, it's enclosed, but all hell is breaking loose in this. I didn't get a chance so far, as a first-time experience, anyway, to play the original Outlast and Whistleblower on my channel. However, I jumped at the chance to do so with Outlast 2. So I did a full Let's Play of Outlast 2 on my channel, and I was glad to be able to do that. That's another one that, yeah, it has jump scares, but quite a few of them did get me.
Yeah.
And what isn't creepy about backwoods people living off the grid trying to perform heavily religious sacrifices and possibly bring about the Antichrist? Not creepy at all, no. So this, I guess, multiplayer game that they have out, Trials.
The Trials,
I need to play that. I need to sucker somebody in my friends group to go along with that with me.
Yeah. The Outlast games are insane. I think Whistleblower by itself is one of the most, like, craziest things. I'm not playing Outlast.
I'm not playing it, but it's great.
It's great. I watched it, and I'm like, no, thank you. And so
too are so cool.
But Whistleblower in particular, like, it just, like, I don't know. It was a lot. There's a lot of stuff that happens in that one that's very bananas, and it was very scary. And
talking about body horror.
Like, Yeah, and I liked 2. I liked 2 as well. I feel like a lot of people were talking about 2 when it first came out, and it was kind of like Visage. Like I felt like it was when it first came out, people talked about it, but it didn't get the same level of like following, I guess, that the first one did. But I no, I love those games. I had literally just wrote that down on my honorable mention because I don't know how I'd forgotten it. But I was like, oh yeah, Outlast, and I went to write that down. That's a good shout. That's a good one.
I guess I don't know if this is a judgment for it at all, or if I just think, hey, I could do that. But I've vaguely, like briefly, once unofficially cosplayed as Miles Upshur, who is the main character of the first one, and I would like to do a cosplay for Waylon, who is the main character in Whistleblower. Because again, it's very easy. You don't know what they look like.
That's true.
Get the
just do
outfit.
whatever you want.
Just the
Yeah.
Carry around a camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Yeah. All right, Kat, what you got for your next one?
So my next one, it was going to be my last one, but I'm rearranging on the fly here. Until Dawn.
Oh,
I
yes.
really
Yep,
like.
it's on my list. Yep.
I've complained some publicly, and I'm about to again about the replay value of Until Dawn because I think it promises like infinite replay value, and honestly, it's not there. But like, there are a lot of mechanics that I think on the second time through, you're like, is this really having the impact that I thought it had on my first playthrough? And the answer is always no. But
No.
on a first playthrough, this is like a perfect horror game for me, and even though I got a little bit frustrated my second time through, I went through and I got the platinum for it. Like, it was fun to trophy hunt. All of the achievements are based off of, like, horror movie puns, which I think is a nice little touch.
Yes.
And it's a fun game. And this is one, yay! This is one, too, where I like this is my favorite all-time stealth mechanic. Where it's like, it's not a huge mechanic of the game, but it's like, hold still or you will die. And then there's like a timer, and it's like, I can hold still for 5 minutes. It's based off of the motion sensor and the controller, which I thought was really clever. That was really impactful stealth mechanic that did not ruin like my enjoyment of the entire game. Cause it's still, and I like that it's story heavy.
Very
You know, I like the atmosphere. It was fun. I really enjoy this one. It's a very loving homage to horror movies, and
yeah,
I have a lot of fun with it.
I had Dark Pictures down, which is it's not technically part of the Dark Pictures anthology series, but it's the same people that made those, right? So it's
we counted.
Yeah, there's like those games are those games are I'm a big fan of those games in general. I think they're super well done. I did not like the last one in the Dark Pictures anthologies, but I'm hoping the sci-fi one is going to be better. But Until Dawn is great. That was the first like decision-based cinematic game I ever watched a Let's Play of. But yeah, it was super well done, and I love that it's like half one thing and then half another. Like it goes into like some crazy direction that you don't understand.
They like to throw twists into those games.
They do.
Yes. I appreciate that. So
yeah, I think the twist in Until Dawn is the best that they've done though, because I think the one in Man of Medan was not actually a twist figured out very early on. But that one, the one in Until Dawn was really good. I mean, and y'all already know, like I love Wendigos. Like I'm like in it. That game is old.
The precious Wendigo.
It's so old.
New fans awaiting.
Yeah, it's getting a live action.
I know. I'll be curious to see how they decide to adapt it, right? Because it's hard to adapt like a decision-based game, right?
They're not going to do it, but what they should do is they should do it like Bandersnatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, do like a Netflix interactive thing.
Where you're watching it from your TV and you can pick the choices.
Yeah.
That would be the best thing for them to do, because otherwise it's not,
I'm not going to get on my soapbox about physical media again all the time, always, but one of the coolest things that anyone has ever released was there was a featurette on the Final Destination 3 DVD where you could do like a choose your own adventure.
Oh yeah.
And I think we need to go back to doing like random kitschy early 2000s DVD releases of things, like, because how fun would it be? You see like a movie on, I don't know what streaming service picked it up, but like you see a movie that's like 90-minute horror on Netflix or whatever, and then you buy the physical release, and it's like, oh yeah, you're basically just playing Until Dawn on your DVD player, and that's what I want. Honestly.
I think that would be like, they're not asking my opinion, but that would be the best way to do that movie, because otherwise it's just gonna be the story as they want to tell it, whichever side of it. So it's not gonna be, the same feeling or the same effect as when you're playing the game, and you have to make those decisions, and one thing affects the other. And
I've never had a bad time with those interactive ones, at least the ones that like Netflix has done, like Bandersnatch, then not horror, but well adjacent. Camp Cretaceous has one, Angel.
Oh, I didn't know that. I've done the Bandersnatch one. That one was so cool.
It's so fun. And the Camp Cretaceous one is cute. And then the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt did one.
They did. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and that was cute and fun. Like, I mean, I've never had a bad time with these new ones that they've done.
Yeah.
So it could work.
It would be the best way to do it. I think otherwise it's gonna disappoint one or the other group of people, depending on.
And then every actor gets to have fun. Like, they all get death scenes. They all get
to survive.
Everybody dies.
Yeah, they all get to sort of enjoy the full gamut of the horror actor experience.
Yeah, I totally agree. That would be the best way to do that for sure. I did not think Until Dawn was going to be on your list, Kat.
I love Until Dawn. I know, and I feel bad because I give it grief sometimes, but it comes from a place of love.
Fair enough.
It's totally.
All right, cool. Steve, what you got for your next one?
Yeah. Totally. Not really, just really quick. Did you ever play Heavy Rain? Because that was very
similar.
Oh yeah.
With the kid.
Yeah. So good. But that was the first game ever I ever played with the decision mechanics like that.
I didn't play it, but I watched that one. I didn't know what it was. I kept hearing about it, and I find, who I watched play it? PewDiePie.
Oh no.
Oops.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I got like halfway through it, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I found there's multiple horror gaming YouTube channels that will play games like that, or actual horror games, where they're just played like movies, and then they're just zip it and go, and you can just watch like a movie.
Story.
And that particular one was much better that way. If I wasn't going to play it, that was the much better approach, because the commentary doesn't do anything when you're like talking about a kid missing. It's a lot, but anyway.
Yeah, intense. But anyway, that made me think of that. So this game is the first game I've ever banked hundreds of hours on. And that is Hunt Showdown. This is a first-person shooter game. It is not really battle royale. You and like, I think it's like 12-player max. You are 1800s supernatural bounty hunters, and you go into creature-infested New Orleans, like Bayou, Louisiana. And you all have a mark. You have to you collect like clues. You use your powers to get 3 clues, and that tells you where the creature is. And then you have to kill the creature and then extract with the bounty. But you're against all the other hunters. So at the same time, you're like shooting other players, trying to get the bounty.
It's mine.
And then it's permadeath. So if you die in the game, you got to get a new character and go in. But you can level up the character if you're doing really well, and you get new supernatural powers, and it's all this stuff. But man, super fun. And I was never really a first-person shooter player until this game, because it's not like run around. Boom, 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 boom. It is very like true to like the gun that you're using, where you have to be very tactful. Like you have to be very like, it's very stealthy. You can hide. You look through the scope, and these are old guns, so it's like shoot, reload, do the whole thing. And like you're waiting. It's so but it's fine. I currently am not playing it because it took a lot of my life away. So I'm on a semi-permanent break from that game.
Fair enough.
But I played it. This was my COVID game, so a lot of hours in 2020 went into that game.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no. Hunt Showdown. I think it also would make a stellar movie. just on the aesthetics alone, it just looks so cool. There's like there's a pig monster. There is sort of like a banshee thing that like comes from the shadows. There's a spider. They just added a like item hoarding bird creature not too long ago. There's this giant gator that you fight now.
Oh my God.
And that's like it's like their first like wandering villain. There's like so much, yeah, but it's really cool. Usually, yeah, you can watch like some rounds of it, Angel. I think it would just be sort of fun to watch it, like the aesthetics of it.
I'm going to jump in here and say that I've watched it. It is a lot of fun to watch. There are very few games that I prefer to watch than play, but I'm not huge into like the multiplayer horror scene.
Right.
This one is fascinating to watch though. Like the style is amazing. You always see the craziest stuff happening. This is like one of those rare Cat prefers to watch this game, but it's so fun. It's such a cool concept.
I'm not very good at it, but I still have a blast playing it. And sometimes I try to do the thing where like I sneak around, I let everyone kill each other, and then I'm like, bounty, and I run. But that's a fun one.
Yeah. My last one is BioShock.
Oh yeah.
I feel like there's a cat, I think, locked into mine. I can't tell if it's the kitten behind the thing or the... Hold on.
Cat rescue!
I'm sorry. Sorry, my calico was trapped in the closet. I'm sorry. I didn't do it. She's like yelling at me. I didn't do
Mother,
it.
why?
Sorry. Anyway, yeah, BioShock. It's my favorite game of all time ever. I love it so much, and I love all three of them. Nervous about a 4, but we'll get there when we get there, if we ever get there. And yeah, it's absolutely a horror game. I don't care what anyone says. That game is scary. I even now, like I've played through it, I don't know, a bunch of times. I'm not super good at it, I'll be honest, but I like it's a fun game. I don't really care. I'll just die a lot. We'll get there eventually, but I love it. It's a very scary game. Every time he comes up out of the water and you go up the little stairs and you get like just that first moment where you're going down and you meet I can't, like, it's so scary to me. And I have to remind myself, Angel, it doesn't get in yet. It doesn't get in yet. You're fine. Nothing bad's gonna happen to you. But it's such a scary game. I feel like, are we talking to me now? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lock you in the closet. I feel like the second game, because you get to play as the Big Daddy in the second one. I don't think the second one to me was as scary because the Big Daddy's part of the reason the game's so damn scary. But it was, but it's absolutely a horror game, and it's one of my favorites. I absolutely love it. I have the special edition. I got a fancy book. Like I love that game so much, and the way that they took the story from 1 and then you've got the story in 2, but then like even when you get to, I loved Infinite. I thought Infinite was super fun. Infinite, I would say, is less horror, right? More psychological.
It's more action.
Yeah, it's more psychological, like when you get to the lighthouse and stuff. But it's very just the way they tell stories in those games, the way they look, they're grungy, they're weird. I love them so much. Like they're so good, and so it had to be on my list. BioShock, love it.
So good. That was the first game I think I had like a WTF reaction to the twist in that game. I think that was the first game that really surprised me that I've ever played.
Yeah, honestly, probably me too. I didn't play that one until I was a grown up, or well, relatively speaking. I didn't
play till college.
Yeah, I was probably, I don't know how old I was the first time I played it, but I was definitely older, and same. It was like, what? It was good. I love those games so much, and I really hope that they don't screw up by doing a 4th one. We'll see, because it's been like a decade since Infinite came out. So,
and the supposed movie that's just been.
You know what? Honestly, so Netflix is supposed to do it. They just announced that they're going to lower the budget and make it a smaller budget.
That's
I'm like,
right. Yes.
I'm not sure why you're telling us that. Like, I'm confused.
This is not building confidence.
Yeah, can you just fucking make it? Like, stop.
Well,
like, at least it's not a series, right?
Work.
Then that's just going to get canceled once we fall in love with it. So
Yeah.
I would love it if it was sort of like, you don't have to make it feel as grandiose as a video game. Like, make it very isolation, make it almost like Alien. You know, you're in Rapture, it's creepy, it's dark. You know, it doesn't have to feel super grand, super special effectsy. Just make it creepy and grungy and
Yeah.
I think low budget
But
is
also,
fun.
they have the budget, Steve. Like, they're fine. Netflix is doing fine. They could make it bigger
I
if
don't
they
know. They
wanted to.
cancel a lot of their
That's-
stuff.
I just didn't understand the logic behind announcing something like that because it felt like it was more of like a dismissal of caring about the project. It was more like,
Oh,
yeah,
maybe.
we'll just spend less money and give the people whatever they will, so they'll shut up about it. Or I don't know. It felt very weird to announce such a thing, but I'll give it a shot because I love.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, Dice, what you got for your last one?
The last one actually was talked about just a moment ago. I'm kind of including it as it's as of currently complete line, but the Dark Pictures anthologies.
Yeah, you're good.
I've played 2, Man of Medan and
Little
the one that
Hope?
came after. Yes, Little Hope. You would think
That's
I
my
would
favorite
remember
one.
that. I played both of those. I did not play until Dawn. I watched
Yeah.
others play it, and I'll play it eventually on my own.
Yeah.
And I haven't played anything else after that. But I figured I shouldn't do all of them just completely through.
Yeah.
We should break it up a little bit with some other shit that people haven't heard about, perhaps.
Oh, yeah.
But I do
Yeah.
like those because, just like you guys said, it's story and character driven, and you kind of, if you're like me, you kind of pick the character that you like the most, and you try to keep them alive.
Yeah.
And that's about it, really.
No, that's true. The next one after that is House of Ashes. That one's super good too. That one to me was the hardest. And then the devil one. It's fine. But
It's fine.
House of Ashes, if you like Little Hope and Man of Medan, you'll like House of Ashes. That one was good. I think that was my partner's favorite one out of all 4 that we played. And that was the one that was the most upsetting when people died. I don't know why, but it was making me angry when it happened. I was like, I don't understand why these people keep dying. What is happening? Like, because
I'm trying to save them.
the decisions get more deeply rooted in the effects of the game the more games that you play. So like in Man of Medan, it's a little more black and white, I think. But then as you get to like House of Ashes, it starts to get super convoluted where something you did the first 30 seconds of the game affect if someone dies later. And you're just like, this is impossible. Like but it's good. Like you get invested and you care and stuff. But yeah, I love those games. The next one's supposed to be like a sci-fi horror one, which I'm really excited about.
Pretty cool.
Aliens!
Yeah, exactly.
This is taking
Aliens.
place in New Mexico. Shit.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, we'll see. I think we've gotten like a teaser thing for it or something, but I don't remember if it has a release date. But those are good. That was a good shout. I love those games. All right, Kat, what you got for your last one?
For my last one, I have detention. No, I've got because detention was taken. I'm moving up. I had like a whole bunch of honorable mentions,
Yeah, me
and
too.
I am going to go with an unconventional pick here at the last moment. I'm going to talk about Doki Doki Literature Club.
Oh my god.
Drama!
The
Don't
weird
talk
dating
about this
sim.
one a lot.
That's one of my honorable mentions.
I love this game. There's kind of a running joke with me and some of my friends that whenever I play a dating simulator, I pick the murderer. And it's so funny because most dating sims don't have a murderer. So I'm always like, anytime anyone finds a murderer in a dating sim, they're like, Kat has to play this. And that's just the storyline I get. Like, it's always... and as a result, I've been recommended a lot of weird dating sims. But like, I love Doki Doki Literature Club because everybody has that experience. Everybody gets to be with the murderer, and it wasn't just like a user error. No, it's got like I love the increasingly because it does a really good job at presenting itself as a dating sim. I think the mechanics are a lot of fun. For a dating sim, and then there are just like these weird little like what notes, and then it escalates super quickly, like
It
just out of
does.
nowhere. You're like, what?
Yes.
It does have that very meta element at the end. I love without saying too much, although if you haven't played Doki Doki at this point, like, it's been out forever. Go play it. But it's without saying too much, I love the kind of villain, I guess, of the piece. It's got a very interesting arc. I'm a huge fan.
That's cool.
I love things that are unconventionally terrifying.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've never heard of that.
it's
Oh,
good.
cool.
It's fun. It's a dating sim. It's a fun
It
little
is.
dating sim where you play as a
You
member
join
of
a
a
literature club, and you write poems,
And you get
know,
to talk
it's
to
real
whoever
cute.
you want that you think is cute until you don't. Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds
it's
awesome.
fun.
Okay.
It's a,
I'm in
it's a
for
weird
a
one,
happy-go-lucky
but it's
dating sim.
Yeah, no, very upbeat, very, you know.
It's very yeah.
It was also one of those rare, because I played it really early, and I love games where I don't know what their deal is. Like, I just go in blind, and I was like, all right, this could be a dating sim. I don't know any better.
Aw.
Good. It's fun.
I kind of went into it blind myself. I
Yeah.
really try to do that with any of the games, but it's so difficult when it's a more popular
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
But
Just
yeah,
like
the meta
movies.
moments that you were talking about caught me right off guard, and
It's intense.
other moments, just the cold dread
Yeah.
of other moments
Of like,
when they
uh-oh.
happen.
Yeah.
Yes, and trigger warning.
Oh, that's another
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, like look up the. I don't think it got to me personally as much as Static, but definitely like go. if you are sensitive to things, like go look up some because it's intense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is
That's
there a
good show.
good? I know that there is a there's a resource for movies, and I think it's called like "Does the Dog
Does the
Die?"
Dog
for
Die?
movies, right? Does that have are video games on that as well?
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
I think they're on Does the Dog Die, but I'm sure there is a resource somewhere for games specifically. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be good to just sort of like
To-
go, and I'm generally okay with like whatever gets thrown my way in games. I'm like, but no, but it's good to know for others.
Yeah.
There should be a site that's just called Trigger Warning.
Yeah, and just have a list of all the things.
You
Will
can
this
select.
F me up?
Yes. How badly is this going to just fuck me? Oh, it's an A24? Oh. A24
Alright.
makes its first game. Fuck.
Ooh, yes, please. Actually, it's just depression, the video game, or
Yes.
grief, the video game.
That's true.
Well, I mean, which I'm all for.
What you
but,
got for your last one, Steve?
Before I go on to my last one, I just sort of, we are coming up on a very huge milestone for Voices. On last checking, we are at 997 subscribers. So, I want to humbly ask everyone checking out the stream, commenting, share this with your friends. Three
Big
people,
deal.
3 friends. If 3 people in the chat, recommend us to 1 friend. Nope.
The dog disagrees.
Sorry.
Do it.
I don't know.
Do it or I
don't
bite.
know.
No, screw the humbly. Y'all go subscribe. Do you hear me? Subscribe.
But yeah, we're so close, guys. So yeah, that was just my
We're super
humble
close.
pitch. But yeah, my last one is another game I sort of I didn't clock hundreds of hours but I got into it pretty deep for a while. This is Phasmophobia.
Oh, yeah.
That's just so fun. I've never played a ghost hunting game before, so like that was my first like just classic like going in with equipment, and it was so just sort of like when it first came out, it wasn't anything fancy. Now they're sort of throwing in some wild stuff here and there, but it was just fun. And like when you have like a fun party of friends that you're going in with, and everyone, and that one actually had probably the first scare that just like genuinely, and it wasn't like a jump scare, but like there's some ghosts that will just sort of phase in and out without any like real ghost activity happening, and you'll just sort of catch one just sort of like floating, and this thing just like, I turned real fast, and this thing was like just floating right past me down the hallway, and it was just like looking at me as it was like going, and no music, nothing. We just locked eyes, and I crapped myself.
Just on the radio, like, guys, I think I have one.
It really was just like, hallway.
like the scene from Ghostbusters.
Yes,
Yeah,
the library.
He's looking at me.
Oh,
But it's just fun. It's a fun, just sort of group game to go in. It's like not super stressful in the sense of like these like asymmetrical games or like these like crazy multiplayer games. It's just sort of just fun. Go with your friends and catch some ghosts.
It's Ghost Adventures, but with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just like a fun one. I think it sort of revitalized a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it revitalized that subgenre. Was that a big subgenre when that game came out? The little like the ghost hunting game.
A little
not
bit.
quite like that. No,
No, yeah. So that really sort of
I don't think so.
blew it up in that way.
Yeah.
And I've seen some funny streams because of that game.
Oh, I bet.
Like when the hunt gets activated and the doors get locked. There was like one friend. I was watching one. It wasn't anyone big. I was just watching random folks stream it. It was like the funniest one. Like the friend. It was in the school setting, and the friend just goes into a classroom, closes the door on their friend, and the friend gets like trapped in the hallway with a ghost. And just highest pitched screams I had ever heard on a stream. It's amazing. But yeah, that's a fun one.
Cool. I have some honorable mentions, but I'm not going to talk about them because we're coming up on 2 hours, so I'm just going to run through them. Dead Space.
That was on my honorable mentions.
Alien Isolation. Evil Within, the first one. Fatal Frame. Welcome to the Game.
That was almost the one that I chose as my fifth. But
yeah, welcome to the Game, Steve, is a deep dark web what do you call
simulator.
it? It's intense. It's good though. Then I had 2 indie games that were Finger Bones, which is a story game.
Also
and
my honorable
Homesick
mentions.
is another one that was really, really good. There's another indie game called Anatomy, which is super cool. You're walking around a house and you're finding these tapes, and the tapes, you go to these rooms and play the tapes, and the tapes tell the story. Basically, the house is alive. It's really cool. It's one of my favorite things in horror. So those are just some honorable mentions I wanted to mention. Before we wrap up, do anybody else want to rattle off some before we close up?
So I don't want to do this right now, but y'all listened. We hit 1,000.
Yay!
Literally, so it happened live. This is very exciting. We are at 1,001. So huge milestone for Voices.
The threats worked.
Whoever was listening,
The dog.
thank you
It was the dog.
so much.
So thank you, everyone. Wow, beautiful. This is
Oh, that's awesome.
the face hurts from smiling. I just like it literally was like. So yeah, I wish there's no like emotes, and I would have balloons.
Where's the confetti?
I feel like we should have had like a game show thing where it was like, confetti come down.
Yeah. I don't know how to segue naturally from that, Steve. Sorry.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Angel. All right, because none of this would be possible without you. You are the the voice of the mausoleum.
The queen. I like
The
that.
queen of the mausoleum. That's right. I did say you
That
are the
one
queen of the mausoleum.
I was like,
I said that on a live stream, right?
You did. Was I even there for it? I think it was when I had to miss or I don't even know. But I was like, I like that. That sounds good. I'll keep it.
You need like a bone crown,
I'm here for it.
Oh yeah, we'll have to get our cartoons sort of like the queen, and I'm not gonna be like king. I want to be like the jester of the mausoleum, but like give me like a creepy like clown outfit or something.
Yeah.
That's all clown outfits. Wait.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yay. That's awesome. How exciting. It's been 3 years. Took 3 years to get there.
Wow.
So,
You do
a lot of work.
I did.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work.
Dice, did you have any honorable mentions you wanted to throw in before we close up?
Yeah, I did. I won't spend too much time on them. Just a little thing for each.
Yeah.
This almost counted as my first, but I figured it wasn't entirely horror. At least not all of them. But as a kid, I would play a lot of the Nancy Drew mystery games.
Oh,
the like PC games.
Yeah.
I pester
Yep.
the hell out of my librarians trying to find the newest ones, and so those are fun. Alien Isolation is another fantastic one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I recently got my brother that one for his birthday. So
Oh.
for pure atmosphere and nostalgia reasons, Goosebumps on the
Oh,
DS.
nice.
What?
Yeah.
That's not based on the movie, was it?
I don't think so.
Or is this just like
No.
off of like the
I
show?
don't think so. I think it was like the books, the show, because there's a lot of like things to do with the stories themselves.
Right. Like Jack Black's not in that game.
No.
No.
Okay, yeah.
No, he's not. Fortunately or unfortunately, depends on who you ask.
Depends on what you do. Yeah.
Have to mention PT. I never got the chance to play it, but watching everybody else was quite a lot of fun. Another wonderful atmosphere for that. Very
Yeah.
creepy. Eraserhead, baby. Wow.
What? Yeah.
And Doki Doki Literature Club.
I
Because,
love that.
yeah, another one on my channel where I went, what the fuck? Ooh,
That's
trauma.
good.
Thank you. Yay.
No, that's good. Kat, you got some honorable mentions you want to throw at us?
Just a couple honorable mentions. These were all like indie games that we talked about. Finger Bones was on my honorable mentions.
Mhm.
I also had Bunker 16. I had Sweet 776, and of course
Bunker
it would not
16.
be a horror live stream if I did not talk about 1916, Der Überkante Krieg, which is you play in the trenches of World War One. You fight dinosaurs in a gas mask. 10 out of
What?
10, very claustrophobic. Love that game. That was another one of those little indie in-browser could break your computer games, but I miss that one so much.
Oh. I don't even know that one. That sounds crazy, though.
It was insane.
Yeah. Steve, did you have any other HMs?
No real honorable mentions, but I would laugh. I was just joking. I'm trying to think like what to mention. And the only time I've ever played Call of Duty games was for zombies.
The zombies.
That's the only time I would join the other straight boys in playing Call of Duty. It's to shoot some zombs. That's it.
Fair enough.
But I end on a funny note. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But,
cool.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that's going to wrap up our Horror Gaming Live. This was a trip down memory lane for some of these games, y'all, because some of them have been around. Oh, I didn't mention, but the Buffy games, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you both for coming and joining and talking to us about video games. This was a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody in the chat that came to hang out with us and the people who subbed and got us over 1,000. Thank you so much. It means more than I'm able. I'm just a little speechless. I've been thinking about it for literally days at this point.
Refresh.
Yeah, there was a time when I couldn't get past 23. I'm just saying. And yeah, once again, Dice, Cat, links in the description. Please go follow them. And that's going to wrap up this episode. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We hope you have a good rest of your evening, a good week, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.